Well, on November 10th, the City Hall came to an agreement to allow Occupy Santa Rosa to have permits on City Hall, and it was one of the first Occupy encampments that had come to an agreement with the local government. And everybody had worked really, really hard, and it was in the newspaper. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but those 5 days, so much got done. And I was one of the alternate negotiators. So what happens with Occupy is that they have what's called a General Assembly, where everybody gets together and they talk about things and they vote on things, and they have to come to consensus, which means that everybody has to either agree, which is up is agree and down is disagree, and then sideways is neutral, and then this is morally blocked. If you have someone morally blocked, then you have to discuss it more. But if you get enough agreement, and we all consensed on 85%, then you have what's called a consensus. And so, so we had a consensus to have me as one of the 10 negotiators. And we worked really hard, and we got that permit, and we all celebrated. And it was like having a huge family. It was one of the best days of my life. Well, on a kind of visceral level, it feels like I'm making a difference by just giving my blood, sweat, and tears. And I always use that term because I think that what happens in a capitalist society and in just any kind of society that isn't a humanist society, which we haven't really had in Western history, so to speak, yet. I think that in a capitalist society, you have a lot of really greedy people who get to the top. And they get to the top on other people's blood, sweat, and tears. And I don't think anyone should be able to make $1 billion off of other people's blood, sweat, and tears. I don't care how intelligent and how wonderful they are. So I feel like I'm giving my blood, sweat, and tears not to them, but to stop them from taking it from others. The wonderful thing about it was that so many people from the community would come and bring food, all kinds of food, that nobody went hungry ever. 24/7 there was food for a long time, for at least a few weeks. And people would bring things like books, blankets, tents, everything. I mean, I would go around and grab up, because they're homeless people, they didn't know what they're doing. They'd forget their sleeping bags, they'd never come back, they'd be sitting there for a week. Perfectly good sleeping bag. Meantime, you'd have somebody without a tent, without a sleeping bag, sleeping on the grass, freezing their butt off, just trying to cover, and be warm with cardboard and stuff. I'd grab up all the wet sleeping bags and bring them to the dryer and pay to dry them and bring them and give them out to, all these homeless people. But we had about 50 of them that we didn't know who they were, and a lot of the people who were from Occupy, even though they wanted to feed the homeless and they wanted to help the homeless so much, they didn't want to talk to the homeless because they were afraid of them. They were doing drugs, they were causing problems. There was a rumor that white supremacists were there, people were coming down supposedly with, violent intentions and everything. So it got really, really tense. And because I'm ex-police officer, ex-security, I was trying to help the security, Occupy security, kind of know what to do and chill out and not freak out. So one of the things I told people, because there was a heavy-duty paranoia going on, was, if you're afraid of that, if you're afraid that some white supremacist is going to come and crack your head, you know what I mean? Go out there and shake the hand of everybody you see. And that's going to break down the fear, because if you go and you actually make a connection, go over there to the homeless people and shake all their hands and get to know them, because that's the only way they're going to know you and you're going to know them, and then you're going to be safer. So it was tense at times. In any group, in any society, there are going to be divisions, but we could try to work against that and actually be more united. And having been homeless myself in San Francisco, I was homeless from 14 to 17. I had to break into cars, and I had to sleep on the beach and in the park and beg for money and count on the generosity of other homeless people, the beach bums and stuff like that. And I think that they have hearts of gold, and part of the reason they have hearts of gold is because they don't have pretensions to be successful. They're at the bottom of the rung, so to speak, and when you don't have pretensions, then you are free, truly free. And that's why, you know, I think it's really wrong for people to do that, and it could be them next. It was really hard. I cried to myself a lot. I didn't let people see how much it hurt. I felt like my parents didn't love me. Of course, they did love me. They're just a little bit, you know, eccentric and stuff. My mother apologized to me for kicking me out and for other things that she did. But I think one of the hardest things is that when you're young, you don't know about the world. You know, you've got all these hormones going through you and everything, and you really need direction. You need somebody who loves you and cares about you to tell you right from wrong. And although I was told a lot right from wrong from a very young age, because my parents were always very honest and open about things, some would say maybe too much, but you know, I think it's more important to be open and honest. You know, there were a lot of things that I just wasn't aware of, and so I had to experience through the school of hard knocks, you know, and I just actually count myself really fortunate that, that I'm alive today. I am very fortunate that I haven't had a lot of the bad things that happen to people in those circumstances, you know, happen to me. However, you know, growing up, I'm from East Boston originally, and and I'm Asian, and I'm half Japanese, and I grew up poor, atheist, in a, you know, Irish-Italian neighborhood, and then I moved to San Francisco, and I lived in an all-black neighborhood, and basically in a dangerous one, because I was fighting my whole life, so by the time I was homeless, I was pretty street smart to begin with, so. But you can't never be smart enough at 14 and to have to take care of everything on your own.